cult movie series from crazy Japanese director Naoki Tomomatsu, a man who isn't a stranger to these types of films. The Lust of the Dead series features 5 mainline movies plus a spin-off title called Hardcore of the Dead, which for the sake of this video isn't included, only the mainline titles. I'm going to give a rundown of what you can expect from each title and why I've given it its ranking. Hi, I'm the Artie Dans from SHOCKMANIA, and let's rank the 5 Lust of the Dead movies. Coming in at last place is the 4th movie in the series. Now, this is the first of a 2-parter that extends the original trilogy to 5 films in total. The 4th movie introduced some admittedly interesting things. We get the hermaphrodite Akira, who is the fully grown child of idol Momoko. Robot Anne is also here, as well as Goto, who is now in a wheelchair and speaks via a literal boombox, which saved the actor the time to learn his lines. Like all the movies in this series except for the first one, this features a lengthy recap at the start, which gets a bit boring if you're binging on the titles and already know what happened. The biggest problem with the movie is that Nurse Nozomi has been replaced by a different actress, which was due to a scheduling conflict with the original actress. To avoid any issues, Tomomatsu even reshot the recap footage, resulting in some odd moments. Otherwise, all the other girls are back, including Asami as clone Kane and Saya Kobayashi as pop idol Momoko. Other problems with the movie include a rather long philosophical lecture from Goto and a weird time-traveling science angle involving a 3-pronged vibrator. On the plus side though, Anne Koshi from Mai-chan's daily life makes her one and only appearance in the series in this film and is featured in a hilarious scene where she has to give a zombie a handjob to ensure his toxic sperm doesn't end up inside her. It's still full of nudity and still full of craziness, but this movie is made redundant by the 5th movie in the series. Maybe a controversial place for this movie on this list, as Part 3 ends the original trilogy and wraps up the story in a rather decent way. But the problem is that fatigue in the series sets in with Part 3, a movie that would have ranked higher on the list if there wasn't the 2 movies before it. Part 3 sees the all-out war between the Amazon women's camp and the otakus, who are using the toxic male zombies to attack all remaining real women. When it comes to sex and nudity, this movie is absolutely insane and probably contains the most in the series. Every main female character sheds their clothes in various scenes of either bathing or sex, including my favourite character Maki, the housewife, introduced in the 2nd movie. Other highlights include the hilarious scene in the laboratory where the main scientist decides she wants to have sex with Kenji before she dies, but unbeknownst to her, Maki has tampered with the condom, resulting in her getting a toxic Kenji cream pie. Another scene of the detached zombie head performing oral pleasure on the scientist assistant is also chuckle-worthy, as is the realization that the zombie they've been trying to tame is actually gay, who then starts to attack the virgin otaku zombies. Sure, it sounds like fun, but the awful handheld camera work gets in the way of fully enjoying this title, which admittedly wasn't planning on winning any awards. It's also the last movie in the series where the stunning Alice Ozawa plays Nurse Nozomi, the main character of the film. Now, I actually liked Part 5, I just thought that the remaining 2 films were better. Part 5 wraps up the whole movie series, providing the complete backstory about why everything occurred and how it could be stopped, or in the case of the movie, not stopped. Due to an incident that occurred in Part 4, where Nurse Nozomi was able to change the past in one of her time travel escapades, the lesbian soldier from Part 3 takes the place of the cute Anne Koshi character, which adds a bit of muscle to the movie. Strangely, the highlight of this movie for the perverted among you is probably going to be the odd sex scene between Akira the hermaphrodite and Nurse Nozomi. What's odd about this is that you might recall that part of Nozomi's DNA created Akira, so this is kinda incest. Hilariously though, the resulting orgasm from that scene creates the final time travel of the series, which is where we learn the truth about Nurse Nozomi's background and how this whole zombie incident could have been avoided if she hadn't treated the poor otaku like a freak. He then goes on to create the whole event, admittedly in movie and manga form. Dare I say, this might be more than a simple story from the movie director. It's not a bad movie, Well, that's a lie. These are all bad movies. But in the context of the series, this isn't bad, and technically should have incorporated the events of Part 4 into it to create an actual proper movie, not this 80-minute end product that has a ridiculous 20-minute recap of the entire series at the beginning. Now, this is more like it. The original in the series comes in at number 2 only because of a strange reason that I'll explain in the next section. Suffice to say, there is a lot of Asami in this movie, and any movie that has a lot of Asami is not a bad movie. In this movie, we witness the beginning of the zombie apocalypse, where the toxic men are created, who run around attacking every woman they see with their large erect phalluses. The only way to stop them is to cut it off before their toxic semen is released. This is the only movie in the series where Yu Akiwa plays schoolgirl Tamei, as she is killed in this film, with the actress returning in the subsequent movies as a robot from the USA whose mission is to help the survivors. Also, much to my displeasure, Asami also dies in this film in a blaze of glory, but luckily is revived by Nurse Nozomi as a clone in the sequels. It's apparent at the end of the film that the sequels were never planned from the beginning, otherwise I doubt Tamamatsu would have killed off 2 of the 4 main girls, so it seems that this was always intended to be one crazy zombie sex movie. While I'm glad he pursued the story further, he probably could have done it in 2 movies rather than 4. What amazed me about this movie was the liberal amounts of flesh in this film. Now, I'm used to crazy Japanese movies, but this one just ups the ante with a pair of breasts every few minutes and for long periods of time. Not that I'm complaining, but this movie is definitely not for everyone, or maybe even anyone. But it is fun, if you ignore the full title of Rape Zombie and just do what I do and call it Lust of the Dead. So, why is the second movie in the series, in my opinion, the best movie? Well, I told you this was a strange reason, but it's because it was the first movie in the series that I watched. The first time I saw this movie was on one of those streaming sites, you know, the one that has all the movies on it. It was a rainy Sunday afternoon. There was no footy on TV as the season was finished and I had no games to play, so I fired up this streaming site looking for a movie I could review on this channel. And wouldn't you know it, Lust of the Dead was there. Well, Lust of the Dead 2, but if I remember right, it was incorrectly titled as Part 1, which was why I watched it. And what insanity it was. Terrible green screen effects, ridiculous practical zombie makeup, and an abundance of nudity from some of the most beautiful AV actresses in Japan came together to create this insanity. This movie introduces popular AV star Ren Miyamura as the housewife Maki, who, alongside her weak-looking husband Kenji, are rescued by members of Amazon and taken back to their camp for observation. The scientists want to explore why Kenji hasn't turned into a toxic male, but his presence as the only male there has stirred up the horny female-only camp. They haven't seen a man in ages, and definitely not one as good-looking as Kenji. Of note is that the spin-off title, which is extremely difficult to find outside of Japan, revolves around the story of Maki just as a zombie outbreak is occurring in Tokyo. Lots of blood, lots of sex, and lots of insanity are what awaits you in this movie. In fact, for the whole series, if you can stomach it. At times offensive, this movie makes no apology for its content. It's not for the faint of heart. So if you're up for it, I would recommend hunting all 5 of them down. The first 3 are available on Blu-ray, while parts 4 and 5 are only available on DVD, and of course watching them. You could do a lot worse than this series, let's be honest. Have you seen these movies and what do you think of them? In your opinion, how would you rate them from 1 to 5? Now, thank you for watching this video. Please press like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel here on SHOCKMANIA for more videos like this. And otherwise, I will catch you next time.